What's up, MMA? Welcome to the Glue Guys podcast, where you'll get raw, unfiltered takes and none of those media trained responses. With your hosts, Big Tone and Sosa. We have a special guest this week. He will be introducing some new updates for our next upcoming season. Let's let the boys take over. The Podfighter and Tony Pedrano.
All right, we got a special guest on the podcast today. One of the front office members. He was always in the heat of battle, Mr. BG.
What up? What up? Thanks for having me.
Welcome,
B-
BG. It's an honor. This first time ever we have a member from another podcast and front office in ours. So welcome. You're the first of that, and we're excited.
Yeah, we got that combo pod right now. So you told us everybody in the chat you have big news. So
Yeah.
tell us what it is next season. What we looking at?
Okay. Well, I actually gotta start with this season. So I'm sure a ton of people in the league have kind of already either figured it out or been told. So the Titans Wrath is now defunct. With that being said, there was a poll held among the captains, so no, front office didn't make this decision alone. It was unanimous, by the way, to just move into the playoffs starting this week. So playoffs have now started. I can give you guys the rundown of the standings and who's playing who. So
Okay.
it would be the first and second place both have a bye, which would be Symbiote's #1 overall seed. And then #2 is the Syndicate. And it was decided, that one was great. It was decided by, the latest battle between Legion of Doom and Syndicate. And then Legion of Doom would then be third. Fourth would be Decepticons. Fifth would be, surprisingly to most people, the Phantoms. And then six would be Black Order. And so the first round will be a matchup of 3 versus 6, which is the Legion of Doom versus Black Order. And then fourth would be versus fifth. So it is Decepticons versus Phantoms. And the way it works also with the buys, the #1 overall seed, they get a bye and they also play the lowest seeded winner of the first round. So whoever is the lowest seed that wins will play the Symbiotes, and then the highest seeded winner will play the Syndicate in the second round. So that's where we're at for this season. Yeah, like I said, Titans being defunct. Also, some people would have noticed that Miami Boy has now joined the Black Order to replace our fallen comrade Ace.
Yeah.
uh,
R.I.P.
RIP. Yeah, give him a good 24 and 8 second violation for him.
Yes. Yep.
Our last game of the season. So respect to our elders.
Yes, sir.
3-time champ.
3-time champ.
How many MVPs?
Like
Three.
3 MVPs, even a DPOY for as a guard, which is, I think he's the only one. No, that has happened one other time. So yeah, he's got a crazy resume.
Nice.
Um, So now the big news as far as going forward next season. So kind of talking to some various league members and talking within the front office, we did let everybody know Zach has now joined the front office. He is the replacement for Ace. And he's brought in some really good ideas and just nice, refreshing energy, which was much needed. So I guess the first thing is next season, this season has been a catastrophe. We can all pretty much see that. And I think Sosa or Tone, I think it was Sosa, even said, if you look at this season and look at the standings and then look at the paragraph following the standings, that's been the issue. So next season, going and in seasons going forward, any captain can no longer the maximum amount of trades, of forfeits that can be traded is 2, period. So no matter what it is, if you make 2 moves during draft night, you can no longer trade any forfeits for the remainder of the season. Or if you make a trade involving forfeits for a player afterwards, it's only the maximum is 2, period. So it's up to captains if they decide to exercise that option. So that's one of the big changes. Another
Wow.
yeah.
That completely changes like how trades can be done. Do you think it's going to be harder to move like franchise players because of the limited forfeits?
I think franchise players, like, because everybody's going to want the franchise guys, like whoever they are. I think that they'll be able to be traded. I think that the challenge is going to be guys that are not franchise players, so starters and glue guys. And I especially if it comes to moving glue guys, it may be like sometimes if you want to trade a guy that's I'll say less desirable, then you kind of like, okay, I'll just throw in a couple forfeits. Well, now
Yeah.
you got to be limited. So it's kind of like a salary, you know. So
So it's two forfeits for the whole season. Like you can't add another forfeit to another separate team.
correct,
Oh
exactly.
wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's say, hypothetically, I trade my forfeit to like Legion of Doom,
mhm.
early on in the season, and then they give it back, like for let's we make another trade. But am I still at one then, or do I get
Ooh,
am I at two?
that is an excellent question. I'm gonna take that to the front office before I tell you anything because I don't know. We didn't even think of
Okay.
that. That's a thank you. That's a great question. So we'll definitely get back to you on that.
Great question, Tom.
Yeah, that's a good one. Following that, so there's some more things going on. We're going to again once we've kind of got the pulse of the league. It appears that unfortunately, like we do love having more teams, but it seems that every season with 7 teams, there have been some issues, some drama, and it's unnecessary stuff, really. But it also has contributed to, let's say, watering down of the teams because for whatever reason we've always had that 7th team that straight up hasn't been good. I'm gonna call it out this time because they only actually won one game that was actually played. Like Phantoms have not been good this season. Last season it was the Street Sweepers. They were just straight up not good. And even this, I think when we first went to 7 teams, a whole team actually quit. But before the whole infamous Ando situation, that team wasn't good. So we've decided for the time being, we're going to go back to 6 teams, which should alleviate some of the like guys being piled on one team that maybe they're, for lack of a better term, the leftovers. So it'll be back to
I like that
six
a lot.
teams.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Hope.
actually. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was saying that like before, like I think it was a couple weeks before. I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know if it was Darius or Zach, but I think Zach was already in talks to join the front office, and I told him that I gave him that suggestion that I told him that I feel like we should leave it at 6, because like what you mentioned, like usually that one team, the 7th, is usually the team full of people that aren't drafted early. And then it also hurts the free agency pool because I've noticed that many seasons, like people will ask, "Hey, we need a free agency. Are there any left?" And there isn't because all the guys got drafted. And
Yeah.
it'd be cool if you leave like 5, maybe to 7 people in free agency because you don't know if guys quit or if
Or if something comes up, like
something
we
comes.
had like 2 issues. Like as soon as the season started, Chris he couldn't play for Phantoms because of like elder responsibilities, and
Mhm.
then obviously now Legion of Doom, your brother had to
Yeah,
step out. So like I
Yep.
think a
Yep.
free agent pool would be nice for in those cases.
yeah, I like that rule a lot because you have a pool of guys that you can
Hmm.
use for emergencies, and you keep things competitive with 6 teams because then all 6 teams can actually be really balanced.
Yep. Yep. That was our thought. And definitely want to also say that shout out to you, Sosa, and anybody else. I actually got some input from Tone on this on the side too. We definitely appreciated you guys input with that. Funny you mentioned free agency, so that takes me right into the next thing. And this one, I think this is the most exciting one, and the biggest change, which this is a first. So there definitely will be free agency next season. So if you go unsigned, do not worry. You can be picked up. And a matter of fact, so there still will be, salary cap stipulations, which is still the same thing. You sign a franchise. Basically, a team has to have one glue guy per franchise player. So if you sign one franchise player, you got to have one glue guy. If you sign 2 franchise players, you have to have 2 glue guys. That being said, and if let's say a franchise player goes unsigned, he would have to a franchise player would have to be dropped in order to sign him. That way,
Oh,
it prevents a franchise player from sitting out of free agency and then trying to make a super team afterwards.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so
Okay.
that's
I
one
like that.
thing. But here's the big change. So anybody that is unsigned and is actually actively participating, not guys that volunteer to be reserves, will be in a free agent pool. Starting as of at the end of week 2, so basically the start of week 3, anybody from your roster may be dropped. So yes, that does include glue guys. They may be dropped after week 2. There's going to be a waiver order. So in essentially, the worst team will have #1 priority in waiver. And we are aware that there are tons of guys that play fantasy football, fantasy basketball, even fantasy baseball, and already know how waivers work. So in harmony with that, there's going to be a waiver the waiver standings or waiver order will be reverse of the standings. So worst team will have the number one waiver. The best team will have the last place, which would be sixth in the waiver spot. Now you get to the free agents. Whichever free agent, like if a captain says, I am exercising my waiver because I want the first chance to sign this guy. Let's say we'll use Darius, for example. He would be usually a coveted free agent.
Right.
The free agent is, they're on waivers for one day. So waivers will take place every Friday, the start of the new week. So every Friday, we'll basically go into the captain's chat, the front office or whoever will follow up with this, asking, is anybody exercising their waiver for this week? If they do say yes, let's say Sosa was or Darius was a free agent. If, let's say, my team, for example, wanted to use our waiver to sign Darius and we have the number one position, Darius actually has the option to say no. However, he cannot be picked up by any other team for one full week. That pushes him back a week from being picked up, and then we can go down the line. Like, say, if Darius said no, I could then go to Sosa and say, Sosa, we would like to pick you up using our waiver. Sosa could say yes. He could say no. If he says yes, we now go back to the back of the waiver list, and it does not reset the following week. Like it still may go off of standings, but we would still be in the back of the list because we actually used our waiver. So you don't get
Right.
to stockpile your waivers. Now, getting back to Darius, for that 1 week, he's no longer available. We also, if let's say we only wanted to use our waiver just for, excuse me, just for Darius specifically, we could, we don't, basically we don't get to wait a week and then ask him again and keep him as a free agent for another week. We're not allowed to do that. So it gives some flexibility to free agents and to teams, but it keeps the free agent from being, forced to stay in free agency pool for multiple weeks because we're like, okay, well, if we can't have him, we're just gonna keep asking either until he says
Yeah.
yes or to keep him as a free agent. So
Yeah, see, that was my concern when you were talking about it. I'm like, dang, what if somebody's just petty and just keeps claiming him and he keeps saying no and he's stuck in like free agency territory, you know?
yeah. Yeah, so that would be 1 week. It pushes him back. Now, let's say the second team in the waiver order, they want him, and that second week comes up. If he says no to that team, now that does push him back another week, but that's also giving him the option. Like he still kind of gets to choose where he wants. Now, the other part of this, waivers, just like in fantasy football, only last for that one day. So after, like, say Friday is ended, or after we've received an answer from all the captains and they all say, no, I'm not using my waiver option, then every free agent is unrestricted as far as where they could sign. So
Okay.
that's where we're at.
Nice. So I have a question. So you can use waivers as many times as you want.
Okay, you can, but essentially, like once you're, let's say you've exercised your waiver. Let's say I used it to sign Sosa or Darius, you or Darius, right? I'm at the back of the list. So yeah, I could, like, let's say every team, before, like, let's say I've used my waiver this week to sign Darius and he agreed. So now that puts me at the back of the list. Next week comes up and I want to sign Sosa. All of the other teams say we're not going to use our waiver. Then I say I'm using my waiver to pick him up, and now I'm already at the back of the list. So essentially, yes, I could use it, but I don't have an advantage because I'm at the back of the list at that point. So other
Right.
teams would have had the option to use it beforehand.
Yeah, okay. So like what I'm getting at, so there is a possibility where you can every week you could have a new person on your team just trying things out, right?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's a good point too. Yes. So now this is the other thing. Once a player is signed, I got to double check this. I believe we said it's a 2 game period that you can't drop them, and I think it is 2 games. I'll double check either 2 games or 1 week, like whatever happens. Like so, if there was maybe a forfeit or something, I think that it would still the forfeit games would still be included. I believe. I'll double check on that. But yeah, it would be two. So you're protected for 2 games. So if it doesn't work out, you're also not stuck with a free agent that you picked up, just for the rest of the season or anything like that. And we
Is
did
there like a
also
cutoff
talk.
date?
Yes. So trade deadline would still be 2/3 of the season. So let's say we have a 7-week season, then after the fourth week is ended, there you can't make any trades. The pickups and dropping of players I believe we'll have to get this exactly ironed out, but I believe it will be the last week of the season. So basically, 100% guaranteed that once playoffs start, nobody is dropping anybody. I don't know if it'll be like the last day before playoffs start. Will it be, or will it be the start of the week, the last week before the playoffs? But there's definitely going to be a cutoff.
Okay, I like
If
that.
Um,
I'm dropped from my team then and like someone claims somebody else, then I enter free agency pool and I can be claimed like the following week.
correct.
Okay.
So yeah, you're not just stuck as in purgatory, so to speak. With that. And I meant to mention this part earlier, but in an effort to also alleviate some of the forfeits. So we already talked about that you can only trade a max of 2 forfeits. We're gonna go back to how we had it before, which is, and I don't know if this was actually like looked at a ton this season, but when it comes to the forfeits for passing the grace period, it's going to go back to each captain's discretion. And instead of being like, okay, it's 11 minutes, they're automatically a forfeit and, no discussion. So let's say you two are captains. If Tone decides to allow an extra 5 minutes for Sosa because, whatever, somebody is using the bathroom, whatever it is, um, you guys have that freedom to do so. The reason we initially, shrunk the grace period was because guys were, abusing the grace period. Some teams would hold practice and knowing that, okay, the game is supposed to start at 9:30, we're going to go into a game at 9:15 and know that we're going to use the entire grace period, and then we can, because we're trying to practice. So we still want games to start on time as much as possible, but there is, some flexibility for the captains to decide if they're going to take the grace period or, take the forfeit or not. Because we would prefer, like, this season was insane. I think it was like at least 10 to 13 forfeits,
Yeah, this
maybe
is like
more.
most forfeits I've ever seen in any of
Yeah,
my seasons here. And I've
yeah,
been here since last 2K. It's been crazy.
yeah. It's just, the purpose of us doing this whole league is to play the games.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think we played like 3 games together all season. Like
yeah.
we have a good record, but I think most of them were like forfeits.
Yeah. It's pretty sad. I think total, I think I played 6 games this season, and this was supposed to be an 18-game season.
Yeah.
So, or maybe 7 games, whatever it was way less than half. So,
I like
um,
that though. I like that you're giving up more
Yeah.
power to the captains because when I was captain last year, I think that was a very reasonable privilege to have where it's like because at the end of the day we want a ball, but
yeah, yeah,
circumstances outside can have people be delayed whether they're in an elder meeting or they had something come up and they're going to be maybe a few minutes after the grace period. But a lot of times, the two captains, they just want to hoop. Nobody just wants to take forfeits. Like you don't want to group the guys together to sit there and wait to just get a forfeit. You want to play. That's what the
yeah,
point of the league is for. And I think a lot of the captains in the league have a similar mindset that if it's a few minutes after the grace period, it's okay. Like we're willing to wait, and that's the point of, you're incentivizing the point of the league, which is to play.
yeah. That was the
Yeah,
whole
like
thing. So we're definitely we and I was, Zach was a great addition because he really does have like a pulse on, guys' opinions in the league. So that's really helped. And we're trying to take in, we're trying to listen to you guys. So much as we can, that suggestion tab or channel is a legit thing. We literally discuss whatever suggestions guys make. If we feel that it's practical and really can help the league, we'll put it into place. So we're not like there's nothing so super rigid. Um, I will say the rules are going to be updated to try to limit as much um I don't want to say finessing, but like any, backbiting and so forth. We don't want all these, like, it was a lot of crying going on this season in general from every direction. Pretty much somebody on any team was crying, about different things or complaining about something. And also this is more of a minor change. It's kind of like I guess I'll say like a housekeeping thing. If there's a forfeit granted and your team does not agree with it, do not come into the main chat like calling names or anything. If going forward, if that happens, your account will be put on timeout for a period. And yes, we are grown men, but we have brothers from all over that view things differently. We don't want anything to escalate. We don't want, people viewing disrespect a certain way or anything like that. We're just here to play 2K, and it's with brothers. So keep in mind the way you're addressing other grown men, because just like you don't want to, certain guys are like, I don't want to be put on timeout or whatever, it even sounds childish, but also like address the other grown men with the same respect that you want. So going forward, any of that stuff, like as far as forfeits or anything that you disagree with, if it's an actual disagreement, you can definitely message any of the front office and we'll try to address it for you. But any like name calling childishness, you're going to be muted. We're just going to keep it moving. We're not even going to go into a back and forth with that. So
Yeah, you hear that, League? Slow-mo activated. Watch out with your GIFs now.
And so I think there was one last thing I wanted to let you guys know. Let me double check my notes because I actually had like legit notes on this.
It's fine. I really like the updates. I feel like
Yeah, me too.
it modernizes the league. It feels like it actually feels like a lot of the concerns that's been addressed in the past have like been addressed like in a legitimate way. And I think that's really cool. You know, I vouch for Zach to be the front office. I told Darius, like, yo, you gotta get a young blood in here, somebody with new energy, you know. And ever since then, I think it's been great because Zach was always saying some good suggestions in the suggestions channel. And from my experience too, as being on his team, I think Zach is like a high echelon captain. Like he is a really good captain. Is always on top of his stuff. Great communication. You know, he has an idea of how the rules work and what not to do. So it's like I feel like he's a great addition to. You guys made a great choice, and like immediately now we're seeing a lot of collaboration between the front office, new ideas, and I'm excited for next season.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
favorite rule change is the forfeit rule. I think that was like really needed. It's just been like ridiculous, like the last I think even 2 seasons. Like it's just
This
Yeah.
season was the this season was
this
for the
season was the
bats.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a team like just looking at the way this season went. We have one team that literally got into the playoffs due to receiving all those forfeits. That's the
Yeah.
only reason they're in, and of course, you know, a team being defunct. But like, that's insane that you didn't even actually play games. Like, just the amount of forfeits, like I said, is just kind of ridiculous. Especially, my biggest thing personally is we're not playing in this league for cash or anything. So if it was, you know, if it was money, okay, I'll take as many free wins as I can get. But since the purpose of this league is literally just to play, kind of defeats the purpose if you're, you know, getting all, you know, your only wins are forfeits. So,
I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, whoever gets Tyler's team in the first round, I mean, congratulations. Like,
That's
we'll see you.
us.
We'll see you. All right, we'll see you next round, guys.
Yeah, no, I mean that's us, but we play you right after. So like I don't really want to be in this position.
I mean, it was gonna. You were gonna have to play me one way or the other.
I'd rather do it later. Like
yeah. You guys are, no question, you guys are the team to beat right now.
Yeah.
It's not even close, to be honest. The final thing rule I found was, so going forward, because there have been such issues with reserves, going forward. So all the guys that are in the free agent pool during the period that they are in the free agent pool, they are also able to serve as reserves.
Awesome. I love that.
We will, though, the big change is, because we were back and forth about this one. It was between either going straight to using AIs as reserves. So anytime you need a reserve, you just have to get an AI just to kind of, and again, the thought process that we put into all of this is to try to keep the league balanced, fair to everyone, and also to limit some of the negative feedback that we get, right? So it was between using straight up AI. So the other option is going to be, now that all reserve requests will come through to the front office. So if you're Captain Tone or Sosa, you need you need a reserve. Captains will no longer have access to the reserve channel. They will just say, I need a reserve, and the front office will follow up immediately listing there's a reserve is needed at 7 o'clock for a game. We won't even tell in order, and this is the thing, to limit some of the, because there's been some stuff going on both sides. So there's been what appears to be captains 100%, you know, reaching out to reserves on the side because they have, you know, there's more ideal. I'll just be honest. If Zonix is a reserve and everybody else is a reserve, Zonix is the number one reserve I would want. If I had my choice, I would take Zonix 100%. Like that's not it's a no-brainer. So to limit guys reaching out to, let's use Zonix as an example, and saying, hey, I'm about to put a message in the reserve channel, make sure you respond. It's going to be come to the front office.
Miguel. Oh, sorry. Something in my throat. Sorry.
Sounded like you said Miggy. I wasn't sure if your cough was acting up. But you know, to alleviate that, it'll be all requests will come to the front office. And also, like I said, the other part is to alleviate reserves kind of picking and choosing. Oh, I don't want to play for this team, so I'm gonna just not say anything, or I'm gonna play for this team. So as soon as they put a request, I'll respond. It'll come through the front office.
Oh, so your
If
guys
we
are gonna
notice,
go in there and say a reserve is needed, no
But
team
you
or
won't say
anything.
what
yep,
team. You won't say for what captain. I
Oh,
like it.
yes,
that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah. Yeah. And if we notice a pattern of even like if that still kind of that step still kind of doesn't work and we notice a pattern where hey, this guy like BG only seems to respond somehow, some way when Sosa's team needs a reserve and he never responds any other time, then we won't ask, BG won't be allowed to be used. But we're also, this is the other thing, including in that step is just going to be a list. This way it takes away us picking and choosing. It'll be a list, kind of like the waiver list. So it'll be like BG's at the top of the list for now. Whatever reason we put I don't know what the order will be or why. We might just draw from a hat or whatever. BG's at the top of the list. Sosa's the number 2 reserve. Tone is the number 3 reserve. If BG responds first, he gets that spot to reserve, and then he goes to the back of the list. So now Sosa would be number 1, and then once he responds, he goes to the back of the list, and so forth. Just for straight up fairness, we don't want to anybody think we're picking and choosing or anything like that. Here's the other part of that rule. So now, and this is to make sure that captains are giving us the most amount of time to like try to go through and ask reserves, is if the captains do not ask us more than an hour before their game, once that hour hits, then they have to use an AI, period. And that's across the board for everybody. That way it's, as fair as possible. So,
Okay.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so,
so
so if it's like
hopefully,
like if it's happened before, like if they're waiting to get everybody in the court and then some dude just like can't make it, that team is automatically forced to use an AI no matter what, right?
I will get back to you on that. Like, let's say if there's, so BG can't, his PlayStation is, it's clearly showing his PlayStation will not let him log in or get into the game or whatever. There might be small like exceptions, and those would definitely be 100% exceptions rather than the rule. But the gist of it is, yeah, you would be using an AI.
Gotcha. Yeah, that part would be
Okay.
case by case, but the standard rule is, you'll use an AI if you ask for a reserve with less than an hour left to your game.
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
Cool.
because and the reasoning being again because we want to be fair to everybody's time, and it may be harder. Like if you guys ask for 10 minutes before a game, hey, we need a reserve, bro. We don't, and then the front office has to be at least one of us has to be around. We might even be in a game or whatever could be going on. It's going to be tough to. It might be tougher to find a reserve, 10 minutes beforehand, and also trying to make sure that we're still somewhat following like the list and whatever. So just to alleviate that, yeah, basically an hour before the game. And there may be, like I said, small exceptions, but if we notice that becoming a pattern, then there will be no exception for that team. So
That's sick, man. I actually really like that rule.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, there's been
so
like
I
a
hope. So
huge
here's hoping.
update. It's like the next patch for the game.
Yeah,
And
this
you're
is like
dropping like 10 gigs of information.
feels like we got the okay to wear beards. You know what I'm saying? But no,
Nice.
thanks for having me, guys. And
Absolutely.
say this to everybody. Any like feedback, we're still like some of these things we're even ironing out the wording of it and how the rule will be typed up and stuff. So if you have any feedback on any of the things that were mentioned, feel free to let us know. You can put it in the questions for front office. There's a suggestions channel. You can do that. Please don't DM any of us on the side. And the reason being, we don't want like it to turn into a conversation where one front office member is telling you one thing and then the rest of us like kind of talk about it and we give you a different, we decide to go in a different direction. So please, for transparency's sake, put it in the questions for front office or the suggestions channel.
I like
Yeah, I
that.
really like that new addition this season. Like, I think that's been really helpful for transparency with everybody and just like have it all in one place, like all the sections.
Yeah, man, we just want to hoop. That's
Yes.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. And shout out to the Glue Guys pod. I'm letting you know now, you're still gonna have some comp. Free Fast Break is not dead, bro.
Yeah. You lost your all-star ace, so I don't know about that.
It's not dead, bro. We got a surprise new host being added.
Oh.
New host.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
You want to give
Oh,
us the scoop right here? Not to the
absolutely
league?
not. Absolutely not. So thanks again for having me. I'm gonna sign off, fellas, but definitely
All right,
appreciate it.
All
man.
right, thanks,
Thank you,
BG.
BG.
Appreciate it. Yeah.